Welcome to the Research Conversations with the Faculty of Management Sciences. Scholars committed to making impactful societal change through research.
Greetings viewers, my name is Skhumbuzo and welcome back to our podcast of Research Conversation with FMS. Today I'll be joined by Dr. Maome Itumeleng to unpack her PhD project titled The Influence of Corporate Social Responsibility on Business Performance of Medium-Sized Business on the manufacturing sector in the ETHEKWINI region. This show is about scholars committed to making an impactful societal change through research. Dr. Maome, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you, sir?
I'm good. So, your research is quite interesting. In South Africa, we have a problem of small businesses that are failing to survive within their first 5 years. So I know our viewers are now close to their screen. So can you please take us down to your memory lane and unpack to us what was this burning question that triggered you to conduct this research?
No problem. Okay, firstly, yes, it is true that SMMEs or small businesses are facing higher problem of failure rate within the first 5 years of establishment. So what triggered me to investigate this is that I teach entrepreneurship, and we always encourage our students to be entrepreneurial and start own businesses. Yet at the same time, there is high failure rate of SMMEs in the country, and these SMMEs are seen to be the backbone of the economy as they contribute towards employment rate and economic stability of the country and other nations. So what triggered me to investigate this study was that I was highly interested in finding out whether or if they implement CSR, are they going to be more sustainable and survive? In other words, will CSR maybe help them to be more competitive and help them to have better relationships with the stakeholders and subsequently leads to maybe their sustainability and survival.
Okay, so in chapter 2, you then went further to speak about the evolution of CSR and in ancient time of King Hammurabi of Babylon. So can you please unpack that history for us, because it seemed quite very interesting.
So the reason why I spoke about the history of CSR is that I wanted to emphasize that CSR is not a new thing. It has always been in existence and even in ancient times. So one of the kings during that time, in the 1700s BC, was King Hammurabi, who came up with a code of law. So in that code of law, he tried to emphasize that companies should care for their employees. He promoted fair employee treatment, as well as trying to make sure that a business you are operating within ethical standards. So what we see as CSR today started a long time ago, and it is trying to promote businesses to do good for the communities and improve those relationships with the communities to ensure the sustainability of the companies.
Okay, so maybe moving to your literature review, I think in chapter 3, you then introduced 3 theories that were quite interesting, which are first the stakeholder theory and the bottom line up, and also Ubuntu perspective, to try and bring context to your study. So can you please maybe unpack that for us and why you decided to choose these 3 theories?
So the stakeholder theory argues that business has responsibility towards all its stakeholders. So this includes the employees, the community, it includes the shareholders, it includes the suppliers and many other people that have stake in the organization. So why I used that theory was to show that as an organization, you're not only obliged, or your obligation is not only on satisfying the shareholders' needs or expectations, but also to satisfy other stakeholders' expectations and try to build relationship with those stakeholders for the company to survive and improve its competitiveness. And I used triple bottom line theory, which also expand on the idea that as a business, your responsibility is not only on the shareholders and also on being economically profitable, but it is also about looking after the community and also the environmental concerns which makes up the CSR. So it will be the economic, social and environmental responsibility instead of only focusing on the profit, which is under economic responsibility.
Yeah.
And the other one, which is the Ubuntu perspective, it brought in the African and South African perspective, and this theory is not usually used when studying CSR. So I brought it in to bring South African perspective or African perspective of CSR, which stems from the idea that as a business, you are interconnected with the society. So it stems also from the company is because of the community. Meaning that as the business you exist and you survive because of the support that you get from the community. So which is why as the business you also have to give back to the community that supports your business.
Also, you also read something that is very interesting, that there are two types of CSR which are philanthropic CSR that is mainly used in the African continent and strategic CSR. So can you please maybe unpack that for us and maybe look at it in the South African context, companies that are doing CSR, what kind of CSR are they following?
So many businesses, especially small businesses, they use philanthropic CSR. So they just give back to the community and they don't expect to benefit from the CSR projects, which is why I embarked on the study to try to find out if they engage in strategic CSR, are they going to be able to improve their performance and be more sustainable and also try to overcome that high failure rate. So with the strategic CSR, you look at the CSR, you look at the objectives, the company strategies, and you align your CSR projects with those objectives to say that if I engage in CSR, then am I going to be benefiting as the company, and how can CSR help me to be maybe more productive, more profitable, and so forth.
Okay, so now moving to your research methodology, what method have you used to conduct a study?
So I used a mixed method study. So I started by doing a quantitative study. So under the quantitative study, what I did, I looked at company documents, and I was looking at the financial performance before and after CSR implementation, because I want to find out if CSR can improve their performance. So I looked at the CSR, the financial performance, and I looked at marketing performance and human resource performance. Under financial performance, the variables that I was extracting from the company documents was profits, as the profit increased since implementation of CSR, and also the production cost. And under marketing performance, I looked at their sales and also looked at customer retentions. That is, are they able to retain or keep customers after implementing CSR. And under marketing, I looked at, under human resource, I looked at whether maybe the absenteeism rate has decreased since CSR implementation, and also looked at whether the company has been more productive or employees are being more productive, and also looked at employees' retention rate. Yes, are they able to keep customer and employees, after implementing CSR. So I was comparing the pre and post data on CSR implementation. And then on the qualitative side, I looked at, I did interviews with the company managers, and I also did focus group discussions with the employees to try to find their perceptions and about CSR implementation. So blending the two methods also gave me a comprehensive view of CSR implementation in the company.
Okay, so this company, was it one company or many companies in the manufacturing sector?
No, it is one manufacturing company.
In the technology?
Yes, and it is a medium size, because in SMMEs there are different levels and the size. So I targeted the bigger part of the SMMEs, which is the medium sized enterprise.
Okay, so now moving to your research finding and recommendation. First, I would like to know, are there any research gap that you have discovered on your study? And a follow-up question is, are there any topical issues that you would like other scholars to research further, and then what finding and recommendation have you discovered to your research?
Okay.
And the first, let's
start with the first one.
Okay. Are there any research gap that you have discovered to your study?
Okay, the gap that I discovered that made me to want to investigate also was that there is, if you go through literature, there is more of what big businesses are doing, and there's little that is written about small businesses or SMMEs. And even in SMMEs, what is written only looks at the type of activities or projects that they do under CSR. It doesn't say much about the impact on business performance. So that is why I thought, okay, let me just maybe by studying, then I'll contribute towards that gap of and contribute empirically and by submitting what the evidence I have discovered through my study as part of literature for future scholars that they can maybe reference if they were to study maybe alongside the CSR and business performance.
Okay, and then what other scholars would you like to further dwell on this topic?
Okay, I'd like other scholars to focus also on SMMEs or medium-sized organizations, maybe in other provinces, just to find out if they're experiencing the same, and also like maybe to compare CSR as implemented by big businesses and small businesses. That is, maybe the impact is it the same, or is it maybe better in big businesses maybe. And I also like maybe to have investigations maybe by future scholars on cultural issues and also technological issues that influence what type of CSR that businesses maybe can implement. Because in my study, I didn't look at their view of CSR in terms of are they implementing it from cultural perspective, and also since we are operating in the world that is continuously improving in terms of technology, I also like other scholars to look at the influence of technology in trying to come up with, in businesses that are trying to come up with a CSR project that we can explore.
Okay. So what finding have you get at the end of the study, and then what recommendation would you suggest for the relevant stakeholders that are in this manufacturing sector?
So what I established was that this business that engage in CSR, they experienced or reported that they experienced maybe better performance after CSR. So they spoke about the fact that there was higher employee retention. Employees became more loyal to the organization because many organizations, when they do CSR, they focus on the outside stakeholders and they neglect employees, who are the most important stakeholders in organizations. So after implementing employee-related CSR activities, then it experienced more customer loyalty, employee loyalty, and from the outside there was customer loyalty, and production cost was reduced because under the environmental responsibility, what the company did was that they implemented other ways of saving energy. So that meant that they cut down on the cost of buying electricity. So that also translates to improved profits because they saved on production costs.
So last question in 30 seconds. How does your study contribute to the product?
So besides contributing to literature in terms of empirical findings that are established that can be used in the future, it also contributes by coming up with a framework that small businesses can use to implement CSR in the future.
Well, Dr. Maome, thank you very much for your time. Well, viewers, that was Dr. Maome unpacking her PhD project that is recently finished in 2023. And this is Research Conversation with FMS. Thank you very much for watching. Let's meet again next time in the next episode. Thank you.
This episode was brought to you by the Faculty of Management Sciences.